Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be using just under $12 of poultry to make several different dishes. I am going to teach you how to debone and remove the skin from the chicken and turkey thighs that I bought. I like to start with some paper towel and just pat it dry so it's easier to work with. Now I'm going to come in with a paring knife and I just want to slide it along the bones so I can get as close to the bone as possible. Careful not to cut yourself, of course. You pull it apart with the knife and then you'll see you'll have a beautiful piece of turkey thigh. These are pretty nice sized turkey thighs. I'm going to be keeping the bones and the skin, and I'll be showing you how to make a stock out of this. Of course, you can buy your turkey thighs and chicken thighs already deboned, so it's not as difficult of a process, especially if you're not used to deboning or working with meat and bones. I've always been doing this, so I have a lot of experience doing it, and I'm not scared to do my own deboning. I'm pretty much going to repeat the same process as I did with the turkey thighs so I can debone and deskin the chicken thighs as well. I like to trim off the excess fat or any gucky bits so we can use that in the stock as well. It may seem weird to use a lot of skin in chicken or poultry stock, but the stuff you get in the store literally uses all parts of the chicken, including its head, its butt, you name it. You can see there's still some meat on the bones, but there's a reason for that, which I'll show you later on. This is the finished chicken, thighs deboned and deskinned. I'm going to be using both the bones and skin for a poultry stock. In a hot skillet, just below medium-high heat, I'm going to add my chicken and turkey skins and then the bones. I'm browning this just a bit, but I'm not looking for any specific color. Now I'm going to add 2 chicken bouillon cubes. One medium carrot and half an onion. I'm using a 3-liter rock pot and I'm going to add water to fill it almost to the top. This will give me about 2.5 liters of stock when it's strained. I'm going to cover this and let it boil for about half an hour on a different burner while I prepare the next dish. I'm going to make some blackened turkey thighs for tonight's dinner. I'm starting with some Creole seasoning. You can use your own mixture, whatever you like to use. I'm just putting some onion powder now. A generous amount of black pepper. And a heaping amount of paprika. You could use chili powder for this if you wanted, but I find paprika will give it a really nice color. Then I'm just adding some garlic powder, and I'm going to flip these over and season them on the other side just as the way I did on the first side. Massaging the meat, I just find that it gets the flavor evenly distributed and all the spices get used up on the meat. This is what it looks like when it's nice and seasoned and ready to go. I want you guys to see what this stock looks like. We're about 25 minutes in and you can see the fat is starting to separate. It smells amazing already. I'm keeping it very simple because I plan on using this for many different dishes. Before I cook the turkey thighs, I decided I wanted to cook 4 of these chicken thighs with red pepper and a pesto cream sauce. I'm going to cook these at a medium-high in a hot skillet with some olive oil and just add a little bit of salt. I'm not adding too much seasoning because the pesto will have good flavors and salty components as well. After a few minutes, once these get a nice color, you can flip them over and we can add some chopped diced red pepper to them. Peppers have cooked up nicely with the chicken thighs. I'm going to test the doneness of these chicken thighs. You want it to be nice and firm, but not hard, still have a little bit of a spring to it. And then I'll just be adding some pesto from the fridge. Not too much, I don't want it to overpower the chicken. This recipe is not planned, I'm just using what I have in the fridge. I'm going to add a splash of water to this before adding the cream. That way I don't have to use as much cream. And I did flip the chicken a bit more just to make sure they were fully cooked. So now I'm just adding about 3 tablespoons of cream. It tastes really good. This would go great over pasta. And this makes 2 servings for sure, 2 pretty large servings. I put it in a bowl and saved it for my daughter because she requested this as I was prepping the poultry. Here I just have a basic salad that I made using whatever I had in the fridge. I'm going to use this to be part of the blackened turkey thigh dinner. I want to show you how the stock is doing. It's bubbling away and it's been cooking this whole time while I've been cooking the other dishes as well. I'm going to taste the salt content in this stock, and it tastes pretty fine to me. I'm just adding a bit more water and bringing it back to a boil. Now it's time to cook the seasoned turkey thighs. In a hot skillet, I'm going to add some olive oil, and once that is nice and heated, I'm going to add my turkey thighs. I want to get some really nice color on these. I'm cooking this on a medium-high heat so I can get that nice browning effect or the blackening effect so this can look really pretty when it's served up later on. Let's check the other side. You can see it's quite thick on the ends, so this needs quite some time to cook, probably a good 10 to 15 minutes. I cover this and I come back to it so it would steam out and cook a bit faster. And now you can see the thick sides are starting to cook and the pinkness is going away. I'm just going to add a teeny bit of water so this can steam and cook fast. And then this will be ready shortly after. This looks perfectly done to me and it smells amazing. So we're going to get it off the pan and cut it up shortly after. Here is my good old trusty tawa. I'm going to heat up a naan, and this is going to be served with the salad and the turkey breast so we can have a nice filling dinner. Let's slice one of these turkey breasts. It's so juicy and steamy and perfectly cooked. And it smells amazing. So it's time to plate it up. I have some salad and I'm just adding some balsamic dressing. Then I'll put almost one turkey thigh on top, but you definitely don't need the whole one, it's quite a lot of meat. And serve that with a toasted naan chopped in four. That's so beautiful. Now I'm going to just slice up the other turkey breast and eat some myself, and then I'm going to save the rest for a meal tomorrow. Time to check in on the stock. This looks really good. A lot of the fat has been released. So what I'm going to do is strain this breast. I'm just removing all the skin and bones. I'm actually going to be doing something with these skin and bones in other recipes. So that's why I left quite a bit of meat on the bones. After about 2 hours of cooking, this is what we end up with. I'm going to put this stock in some glass jars once it's cooled down. And I'll be making a soup with these scraps later on. Time for some stir-fried mee goreng noodles. I cut up the rest of my chicken thighs that I had into little cubes and I put it in the fridge. We'll be using that here. These noodles come with seasoning packs and I like to cut it all at once so it saves a mess and you're not struggling with it. I'm just quickly boiling these noodles for about 2 minutes in some hot water. I don't really want to cook them too long. I don't like soggy noodles, and these are going to be stir-fried, so you want them to have a nice chew to them. And once these are ready, I'm going to remove them and put them in a bowl, and then I'm going to drain the pan of water and add a little bit of oil to cook the chicken. So in this bowl, I have about 5 chicken thighs cut up into cubes. So I'm just going to use about half of this. The calories in one mee goreng pack of noodles is 400. So this really should be for 2 because this whole meal is almost 1,000 calories if you ate it as one meal. So I'm just going to saute these chicken pieces and get them cooked up. I'm adding one set of the seasoning pack to my meat, and I will save the other for the noodles. Now I'm going to add one of the dry seasoning pack to the meat. I initially added just the liquid seasoning pack, but now I'm adding the dry seasoning pack. This smells so delicious, and I'm just going to cover it down. And this looks nice and ready, so I'm going to add the noodles in here. Time to add the other seasoning packets to the noodles. And we're going to mix this really well to incorporate all the flavors. I like to use a chopstick for this as well, so you can really separate the noodles and get some crispy, crunchy bits. I'm just giving this a try. This isn't for me, this is for my daughter and her friend. But I just had to taste it because I don't eat ramen a lot, and I definitely prefer stir-fried ramen. Let's plate this up. Look how crispy and crunchy these browner bits are. Add the chicken to this bowl of noodles and get it plated up. Most people think of ramen, they think of a soup, but I really like my ramen stir-fried when I eat it. Now I'm going to be making a Caribbean rice and peas with chicken thigh meat. I'm using some frozen ingredients. I have some frozen okra, some frozen spinach. I have this Caribbean mixed seasoning. Any Caribbean flavored seasoning would do for this. It's just for the chicken. This is a rice and black-eyed peas mix, and this is such a quick way to get Caribbean flavors or West Indian flavors. Look how thick this sauce is. It's going to add great flavors to the chicken. So I'm just going to saute this chicken in a hot pan. This is a very Guyanese sauce called cassoulet or cassoulet. I'm just adding a bit of this for some color to my chicken. If you don't have this, and you likely don't, you can just add some soy sauce with a sprinkle of sugar, but it's not necessary. I just saw it there and thought I should use it. I've added my Caribbean seasoning and just let this chicken cook. Add chopped frozen spinach. The heat is on a nice, just under a medium high. I tend to cook with higher heat because I like to cook food fast, but that means you're watching it more often and standing by the pot more often. I've added some water. I'm not following the instructions on the package because I added all these other ingredients, so I'm just going to cook this until the rice is done to my liking. Let's give this a stir. It smells so good. I'm going to add my frozen okra now. You can smell the coconut. The pre-packaged rice and peas has flavors of coconut, thyme, and pepper. I'm just going to add a bit of water, and I want this okra to cook. This whole recipe takes about 20 minutes. It's really not that long. The chicken cooks fast because it's in small pieces. I'm going to cover this and let it cook until the liquids have evaporated. It still needs some time, so I've covered it back and then turned the heat off. I'm going to cut into this okra so you can see how beautiful it is. For years, I've joked with my husband that this is vegan caviar. I just love the way it pops in my mouth. I'm plating this up. Some people like their rice more mushy and sticky, but I like mine not as soft. Look how gorgeous that looks. I wish you had smell-o-vision. Let's get some chicken on here. And this is a West Indian and Caribbean favorite, especially on the weekends. It's so filling with all the rice and the beans and the chicken. It's very high in protein. These okras are perfectly cooked to my liking, and this chicken is nice and juicy. This step may seem extreme, but I do this quite often. I don't like to waste the bits that are on the bones, so what I'll do is just pick them off and make a soup with it. This is going to be used in a barley soup that I'm going to be making shortly. I'm going to use everything that we used in the stock, including the carrots and the onion bits, and with some additional veggies. This is going to make a really nutritious soup. Only do this if you have time to do this. I love cooking and everything associated with cooking, so I'm very patient. I boiled those bones for a second time so I can have a quick stock while I cook this next dish. So now we're going to be making a barley soup. We like to call it gruel. When my daughter was much younger, I used to tell her it was gruel, and she just grew up calling it gruel, and we still love it to this day. So I'm sauteing the chicken, turkey bits, and then I'm going to add some hulled barley to this pot. This is going to give it so much body, and it's just full of nutrients. Get it a little bit toasty. I have some frozen mixed vegetables. I always have this in my freezer in case I'm making a quick soup or stew. This soup is actually just going to take about half an hour because I will be cooking it on a pretty rapid boil. I'm using some of that quick stock now that I made just now from just reboiling the chicken bones for a little bit. This is going to add great flavor to the barley and absorb into the barley. I'm adding some dried onion flakes and some cracked pepper, salt, and garlic mix. And then I'm just going to be adding the rest of the stock into this pot. Here I have some herbe de Provence. You can skip that. You could add some herbs, some thyme, some bay leaf. And then I'm just going to dump the rest of the stock into this pot and bring it to a nice boil. Here is a jar of my initial stock. When I store it like this in the fridge and it cools, the fat cap rises to the top and I can get rid of that, and all we have is pure collagen, gelatin, and a super nutritious bone stock. This is going to make this soup elevated. Though it seems like it's just scrap bits of chicken meat and very little chicken, the flavor here is immense. I'm adding quite a few bits of black pepper, and then I'm just going to get this going. After about 25 minutes, I taste salt level, and this doesn't need any other seasoning. So I'm just going to let it cook. This is almost ready. This has a really nice texture at this point, but I do want this to be thicker. So I'm just going to cook it for a bit more. Maybe 5 more minutes or so. And then it's nice and thickened. I want to taste it. It has great poultry flavors and chewy barley texture. So good. I'm going to transfer this to a smaller pot so I can store it in my fridge. I do not use a microwave. I do not own a microwave. And here it is heated up the next morning. So thick. The chicken and turkey bits have just rendered into the soup, making it very nutritious. I want to show you some chicken and turkey skin sandwiches. You absolutely don't have to make this, but you can try it if you'd like. It's totally edible, and if you really wanted to stretch this, you could do this. I browned some skins in the pan. These are the skins that were used in the stock, so they're getting used yet again. And I added some red onions. I'm going to add some candied jalapeno. I also added a dash of hoisin sauce to the pan. This is going to give it a sweet, savory, and spicy flavor. Let's saute it together, and then I'm going to toast up a couple buns that I have laying around. Once these are nice and toasty, I'm going to remove them from the pan, and then I'd like to show you what the texture of these skins look like. I'm just going to quickly saute them so they get a nice sort of chewy texture, and I guess it's like chicken skin bacon if you want. I don't want them too crispy, but I want them like chewy. I decided to use 1 egg just to add to the sandwich because it didn't seem like a lot of filling for 2 sandwiches. I'm just going to season this egg with a salt and pepper blend. And this is just going to add some extra protein. I'm just going to fold it in 2. I want just kind of like 2 squares to fit on the buns. So let's assemble these sandwiches now. I put the egg on the bottom. You could put some butter on the bread if you'd like. I didn't need it. And I've put my fillings into the sandwiches, so what I'd like to do is give this a bite and be honest with you guys. It actually tastes really good. It's sweet and savory, and the egg makes it go together really well with the chicken skin. I think if it was just the chicken skin, it wouldn't have been as good, but with the egg, it made it better.